Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to choose the right rhinoplasty surgeon. If you are looking to get your nose done anytime soon and you're planning on booking a consultation, there are some crucial details and information that you need to have. Now, every single person is different and I understand that everyone has different needs. So what you're going to want to do is pick and choose the information that I'm giving you and throughout all of your research and choose a rhinoplasty surgeon that is catered to you and your needs only. Not everyone is looking for the same thing, not everyone has the same needs, and not everyone's nose is the same. So let's get right into it. Before I get into the things that you need to know, I just want to do a quick little backstory on what I did, the things that I did right, the things that I did wrong, what I regret, what I don't regret when going through my rhinoplasty. I actually don't regret anything overall in the grand scheme of things. Especially when it came to picking my surgeon, I felt like I chose the right one. Honestly, I chose my surgeon based on my friend who went to the same surgeon as me. So I kind of knew the results that my friend received, and so I kind of followed suit. That was definitely the right move, and I'll kind of get into why that was the right move later on into this video, but I really am so happy with the fact that I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew someone personally that went through the same thing. That was kind of one of the best decisions that I made based on choosing my rhinoplasty decision. Another one was I had confirmed that he is an ENT doctor. Now, things do get a little bit sketchy and suspect with ENT doctors because some doctors claim that they are ENT doctors, and even if they're not, just because they know that they would get more customers that way. So it is a little bit hard, and I'm going to get into sort of deceitfulness later on in the video because a lot of things around this subject matter are so like he said, she said. Now, as for the cons of what I wish I went with instead of him, I don't regret choosing him as my surgeon, but if I were to choose another surgeon, I maybe would be looking at a surgeon that works on noses that are similar to mine, and I didn't do that. When looking into Dr. Samil Sahin, I went on his Instagram and you see that most of his patients are either Black or Asian. Now, this is because he specializes in squishier noses and less cartilage noses. So there are doctors and surgeons that work on bony noses and very structured noses, and then there are surgeons that focus on less cartilage, squishy noses. So I kind of chose a doctor with less experience with my particular nose. He didn't decline working on me as a patient, so I knew that he was up for the task. However, I would consider heavily when looking at their Instagram page and their previous clients, I want to look at these other people and feel as though I look somewhat similar to those people that he's worked on in the past. The one thing that really stood out with this surgeon in particular with Dr. Samil Sahin is that he had incredible ratings. He has had an insane run for the past, I think he really picked up like 5 years ago where he started like rolling with the really, really great reviews, and it takes time, right? Like not everyone's perfect at their profession right off the bat. So he's definitely a much more experienced rhinoplasty surgeon, and I went in knowing that, and I wanted to pay for a more expensive rhinoplasty surgery. I have mentioned this before and I'll mention again. I paid $6,400 USD. With him, even that number changes and varies. My friend who got her surgery done by him had a much lower quote, and my sister also asked to quote her, and they gave her a much higher quote than they gave me. So every doctor is gonna rate differently based on your nose, based on their experience and overall. And I understand that price is a very hefty factor when it comes to booking your rhinoplasty surgeon, because in the end, you know, they're all medical professionals and they have had some sort of training and experience enough to be doing this in the first place. However, I couldn't it wouldn't have felt right for me personally to pay only $1,000 or $2,000. Now, when you're traveling abroad for medical procedures such as these ones, they know you're coming from the Americas. They know you're coming from, they know you're international. They know that you're paying a lot of money to go overseas and to do these surgeries. So they do up these charges. If I were to be Turkish, or if I lived in Turkey or Iran, the story is different. They do charge way less if you are actually from there. That's just the name of the game. Now, I'm gonna get into more of the nitty-gritty information that I was looking for to choose specifically my rhinoplasty surgeon. Now, the biggest thing for me was making sure my surgeon was an ENT doctor. If you don't know what that is, that's an ear, nose, and throat doctor, which is very different from a cosmetic surgeon. An ENT doctor specializes in both function and aesthetics as opposed to just aesthetics. So if you are having breathing problems, if you're having issues with your airways in any way, an ENT doctor will be able to tackle those issues. A cosmetic surgeon wouldn't even know how to help you breathe better if you have any kind of congestion in your nose, if you have any kind of issues with breathing, if you have a deviated septum. These things a cosmetic surgeon or a non-ENT doctor will not be able to fix. So I just felt better with that in mind, even though I didn't have any major changes to how I was breathing. I mean, I did have a deviated septum, but it wasn't that big of a deal. My heart just felt at ease, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like an ENT doctor would really, if an issue came up in the middle of surgery that was not standard, an ENT doctor would be way more equipped to deal with those problems at hand than a cosmetic surgeon. A cosmetic surgeon is simply going to fix your aesthetic look overall, but nothing more than that. Next, we're going to be talking about their before and after photos. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this is it's a hard game to play. I feel like there are a lot of points in which you can be deceived by doctors, and I am not a skepticist. I'm not a negative person. Honestly, I wholeheartedly trust. If a surgeon tells me they're an ENT doctor, I trust them. If someone tells me they had a great experience with a surgeon, I trust them. If I see photos on the internet, assuming they're not poorly edited, I will trust that those are really the results that that surgeon is putting up. However, I feel as though it's a very mucky area to be trusting everything and anything that you see. First of all, ENT doctors, I know a lot of surgeons, especially when it comes to international surgeons that you don't know, and you don't know their policies, and you don't know if they could just claim something like this without any legal consequences. Things like this are very touch and go. So there are many rhinoplasty surgeons, unfortunately, alluding to the fact that they are ENT doctors when in fact they are not. That is just a fact. So you might think you're paying extra for something, and it might not be the case. You are gonna have to go in a deep dive to really find out what is going on. I remember my sister found this website where you can actually see all of the people that are registered in that country that are ENT doctors, and you can cross-reference and see if your doctor is on that list or not. So it's about really doing your research. When it comes to photos on Instagram, a lot of the times they are touched up. I know that's a really shitty thing to say, and I'm just telling you the truth. Not to mention that these surgeons are doing 2 to 3 surgeries a day, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on who you're going to and where you're going. They have a lot of clients. And when you go on their Instagram, the photos that they are showing are not necessarily all of them. My surgeon never posted me on his social media, whether that be because he might not think that it's a great enough post to post, or whether or not he didn't schedule it into his social media calendar. I don't know. I don't know what the reason was for that, but they are pick and choosing where they're posting it and who they're posting it for and what they're posting. So everything that they post is not exactly every surgery they're doing. So be very careful if you think you found the worst procedure done on his social media. Just know for a fact that that actually is not the worst surgery he's done. He's definitely either not posted it or maybe even taken that post down. I want to now go into your rhinoplasty surgeon's reviews. If you go online on Google review, on their website reviews, on I don't know, anywhere that you can find any information about this place where people are having a conversation about his work, are people complaining about the same thing? Are multiple people saying that they're unsatisfied with XYZ? And does that XYZ bother you? For example, there is a surgeon in Toronto where his reviews on his actual work is really, really great, but there were complaints about his attitude or his personality. That could bother you and it could not bother you. I mean, if his work is good and you don't give a fuck about if he's a nice person or not, that might not affect you. Look at their negative comments and see if they're repetitive negative comments. Some rhinoplasty surgeons make you sign an NDA. Now, obviously, I didn't because I'm talking to you about it, but rhinoplasty surgeons thrive on their reputation. If they don't have a good reputation and no one's booking them, they're kind of out of a job, more or less. So they depend a lot on word of mouth. Now, if you go to a consultation or you're about to book your rhinoplasty surgery and they ask you to sign an NDA, that means that if anything negative, any accidental situation that happens, anything that happens where it doesn't turn out the way that you expected or that you wanted it to turn out, you cannot talk about this surgeon. You cannot say that it was done by this person or what happened exactly. So it's a very rough reality to accept that there are influencers and there are people that actually cannot tell you the truth about their rhinoplasty. And it sounds very extreme when you think of it from an outside perspective, the fact that you have to sign an NDA to get cosmetic surgery done. But if they give you a botched job and they get no heat for it whatsoever because no one knows your surgery is done by them, that's kind of really smart for them. And that leaves you with no way of warning other people about their work. So if you know someone in real life and they're being weird about who gave them, if they can't even tell you who did their cosmetic surgery, just know for a fact that they signed an NDA. And personally, I think that's so completely sus that I think if it was day of surgery and my surgeon's okay, you need to sign this NDA, I genuinely don't think I could go through with that. It's giving I don't trust you before anything's even happened. You know what I mean? There are some extremely well-rated and reputable surgeons in Toronto and in the States, and you have not heard a single negative thing about them because the system is set up that way. So don't be so trusting. My consultation progress was slightly different than my sister's and my other friend. So I know two people that are very close to me that have had their rhinoplasties done at a very similar time as I did, and we can only really compare and contrast as much as we can with those around us because, again, people online, influencers, other people that post about it, you can't really get that great of a grasp on their true story unless you really know them personally. But my consultation process looked a lot differently than my sister's. With my sister's consultation, before she even flew out to go to another country, her doctor actually sent her photos saying, these are how we predict that your nose will kind of look like. So she had somewhat of an idea of how it was going to turn out. where they, they take your photo that you send them and they edit it and modify it so it gives you a sort of an idea of what your nose will look like post-surgery. I didn't have that, and I was oddly okay with that. However, I know that's a really scary thing to be going into, having absolutely no idea what they can even do for you. Also, during my consultation, when I got to Turkey, day of surgery, I didn't show my surgeon any photos, which is a huge regret for me. That was my bad. Something else that you could do is booking a couple consultations with a couple different surgeons, going to each one of those and then choosing out of 3 different surgeons which one you would prefer to have do your surgery. That one's a bit more difficult because I don't know with booking how that would even be possible. I know with my surgeon, I don't think he offered that. You had to pre-book your surgery date before you even go there. So it really depends on the surgeon and what your scenario is looking like. But that would also be a somewhat good idea if you have the time or money. Making sure they understand what you're asking, making sure that they can deliver to some degree on what you're asking them to do. If they're overly agreeing with every single thing and giving you no guideline on what is actually possible, that could be seen as a red flag though. You don't want a surgeon that doesn't warn you of any sense of, that might not be possible with your nose. When they tell you that that exact thing that you're asking for might not be possible due to the limitations of your own nose, if they're not throwing that out there, then they're over promising on something they're not going to be able to deliver, because I guarantee you, you are not going to get exactly what you ask for. Your nose is not going to be a perfect replication of what you have in your mind. Certain things with the bridge of your nose and how your nose is structured, certain things like that can limit you a lot. And your rhinoplasty surgeon's job is to inform you of those limitations. Another thing that you have to look into is whether or not you have a open or closed surgery. Now, this is one of those things that I feel like I really knew about. I know the difference between an open and closed surgery. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I actually don't know which one I had. And to me, this point didn't matter as much. I know it matters a lot to other people because an open surgery, I believe, takes longer to heal from and recover from, while a closed surgery actually has other limitations where it's not as easy for your surgeon to completely reconstruct your nose, and their ability to perform surgery is limited based on sort of access if your nose isn't fully open. So there are pros and cons to that. This was one of those things that didn't entirely matter to me. I just felt like whatever technique my surgeon felt comfortable using, I was okay with. I think that there is a line of overthinking your surgeon as well. I definitely did this. I was jumping back and forth between 3 surgeons. I feel like this is one of those times where your heart really guides you to who would work better for you. And I know that's like cheesy and tacky, but I feel like you have a gut feeling of who would work best for you. So maybe just follow that. I mean, obviously, aside from all the logical things that you need to look for, but once you have those down and once you kind of have an idea of what you want and you have surgeons that check those boxes for you, just go with your gut. Take your time with your research. It is a big deal. It is not just getting a haircut. It's not something so minor that it's not worth looking into. All of these points, and I'm sure more, are relevant and actually important for you to look at. These were the things that I looked at personally, especially having an ENT doctor. That was top priority for me. It's been really fun talking about this stuff. I feel like I had so much information built up in my head with what I needed to do, and now that I finished my surgery, it feels like I have all of this research done for nothing else that's relevant to me, so I would love to share it with you. And if you have any more questions in regards to rhinoplasties and surgeons and anything else that you could think of, leave a comment below. And thank you so much for watching, guys.